Alright, what's up, my friends? How to stay motivated. Oh boy. So, Mel Robbins says motivation is bullshit. And I agree. I do agree. You sit around waiting for motivation to creep into your mind, and you're going to be waiting for a while, alright? Also, motivation just isn't enough to go off of by itself, alright? So, it's best to do things that will create the motivation as opposed to waiting the motivation to hit you. Alright? And it's just mostly based on your efforts. That's the most, I think that's the best form of motivation. Okay, so even if I motivate you, you want to take that motivation and apply it to something that can keep you motivated. Alright? So, the first thing is to plan to the end and then complete the task. Okay, so it's one thing to plan, and it's another to get a lot of things done, but you want to have a plan to action so you can mark your progress. So you know exactly where you're going, you know how far away you are. Okay? So, for example, my last book, which is titled Don't Say I Never Gave You Anything. 50 helpful pieces of advice. So what I did was, although I got it pretty clean as far as the writing process went, as far as editing goes, I broke it down into 5 pieces. Okay? So, it's 50 pieces of advice. There's 50 posts. I focused on 10 at a time. So 10 a day. Alright? That kept me motivated because I was able to count. I was 1, 2, 5, 10. And I know that's not how you count, so don't even start there, alright? Don't even start with me. I know how you do. You fucking nitpicking. You need to pay attention to the message. Alright, so you're able to plan to the end. And honestly, as a result, because I was doing this, I was like, wow, I knocked out 10 a lot faster than I thought. So, later on in the day, I went back and knocked out another 10 and then knocked out another 10. Okay? And that's just how motivation goes. You want to know that you're actually getting somewhere. Alright, so that's most important. Alright, so plan to the end, then complete the task. Okay? So, here's the next thing. You got to always ask, what's next? Okay? So it's great to climb to the top of the mountain, but what is it all worth if you climb to the top of the mountain just to fall off the cliff? And that's what it's like to not know what comes next after a monumental game. Okay, I want to speak on something. An interesting thing that's been brought to my attention by Eric Thomas, the greatest motivational speaker in the world. He was speaking on NFL players, okay? They were the best at Boys and Girls Club or Pop Warner. They were the best in high school. They were the best in college. Then they get to the NFL and just fall off completely. And that's because they didn't define what was next. Their ultimate goal was what? To get to the NFL. So, once you get there, a lot of people don't even know what to do. They're living their dreams. You get that big paycheck. Alright, you made it to the promised land. And then you get lazy. Then you fall off. Because you've defined that, in a sense, as the end of the road for you. Okay? So, not for example, but a better way of thinking is, even before you get to the NFL, you make it your plan to be a Hall of Famer. A Hall of Famed NFL player. And then you can even think beyond that because the NFL isn't forever. So you always got to think far, far ahead. What's next, okay? It's even better because I know I started off by saying once you finish, you ask what's next. Maybe ask what's next ahead of time, okay? That way you have a very fluid transition from one thing to the next. You don't feel empty. You don't feel this postpartum depression. of sorts. Okay? Like you just gave birth. That was the climax of it all. After carrying something for so long, you're here. Now it's like, now what? Alright? Now, so ask what's next. Ask what's next right now. Okay? Advice to self. So the next thing is to track your progress. Okay? So at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, you pull out your journal and you take inventory as to what was done, what you missed out on, again, what's next, and then you go from there. Okay? The solution to what to do next and where we are in life is as simple as getting it down on paper and having a little meeting with yourself in order to reach a desired outcome. Make sure you're not missing anything. Make sure you're not overcomplicating anything, and make sure that you're not putting too much on your plate. And also, it'll help you define what's more important and what can wait. But you want to track your progress, okay? So that's why you see a lot of people. You may see some people in the gym. They take note of what they did today, yesterday, and things like that, so they can see how far along they've come. They're able to monitor their progress, and because of that, they aren't as overwhelmed, okay? Or they may not be overwhelmed at all, okay? And if you are in the gym, let's say you're trying to lose weight, obviously I don't want you to get caught into the habit of monitoring your weight every day, but it's still a great idea if you know how not to let the results hurt you when it isn't what you want it to be, okay? So, and also if you're trying to lose weight, you can monitor your progress by, okay, this was my diet today, or this was my diet last week, and this is what my diet is today, or this was my diet a month ago or so, and here we are. So you get to monitor your progress that way, and that keeps you motivated, okay? Especially when you write down all the temptations that you had. Okay, it's like, this is what I wanted to do, but I didn't do it. I stuck it out. That's going to keep you motivated as well. Focus on the positives, all right? Focus on the things that you overcame. So the next thing is, do the things that you don't want to do that you know you ought to do, okay? So, and I know I make this an example a lot because it's very relative. It's very, very easy for me to bring about. Is the editing process. It's very daunting. You do all this writing, and the last thing you want to do is to go back and look at it again and again and again and check it for all types of errors and get it to its completion. Now, for some, that may be their favorite part. For me, it's not. But when I knock it out, and when I knock out the hardest task first, earlier in the day, I feel better because of it. I have a better outlook on the rest of the day. I'm like, well, I mean, I knocked that out. It's going to get easier from here, man. And what a great way to go to sleep. You know, you knocked out the big dog earlier in the morning. As time goes on, it gets progressively easier as your willpower goes down. You know, you're feeling good. You know, you're feeling like you got the world in your hands. Everything is good. You get to go to sleep. Then you start planning again. You go to your journal, track your progress and all that. Plan for the next day. And you wake up with some more motivation. Alright? You know exactly what to do when you get up. Because you wrote it down. Alright? So, do the things that you know you should do. I mean, you decided that this is what you wanted to do, so go on and do it, man. And in the future, you will be thankful because of it. All right. So the next thing is to get feedback. Now, I'm kind of split in the middle with this one because, well, let me just break it down what I mean by getting feedback. So don't necessarily go searching for it, although there isn't anything inherently wrong with it. It's just that you may find yourself coming across people who have nothing to do with this particular thing, They don't know how to judge it. They don't know how to, they don't speak your language, so to speak. So you may be getting caught up in a trap of people just just telling you what you want to hear, or because they like you or whatever it is, or they may be extremely harsh because they are envious of you or jealous or what have you. But the type of feedback that I really appreciate that works for me are these YouTube videos, matter of fact. Because sometimes I am a bit unsure about the videos that I put out. I wonder if there's enough quality, if I stumble, if I ramble too much, if the videos are too long, all these things. But I'd be damned if after recording all these videos, after recording any one single video, that I'm not going to put it out. I'm going to put it out, okay? Regardless of the fact, because I spent time on this. I could have been doing something else. Alright, so, but then I get a lot of feedback from you guys, and you've been very supportive, and I'm really, really thankful for that. And it keeps me going, makes me want to do more, makes me want to push the envelope. It's definitely building up my confidence. But I'm motivated, for sure. So go ahead and get yourself some feedback. And the final thing is to outdo most people and yourself. Okay? So, very simply put, when we speak of the law of probability, you're more likely to get a desired outcome if you put more out there. Okay? So, we speak of the raffle ticket effect. People buy multiple raffle tickets to increase their chances of winning. Or they buy multiple lottery tickets to increase their chances of winning. But this isn't nothing like a lottery, for example. I mean, for one, we have no way of knowing how your chances are increased. It's not necessarily measured, but it can be measured unofficially by the amount of effort you put in. If you understand that most people work 40 hours a week, you like your chances of working twice as much or 1.5 as much. You know what I'm saying? So that extra little effort is going to keep you in play, okay? So in sports, the person who out hustles everybody, he gets the most success. He's more likely to have the plays work in his favor. He's more likely to get the ball in his hand. Just things like that. He's more likely to stay employed. All right. So if the average person, I said this before, if the average person maybe reads 12 times a year, let's say the average person reads 12 self-help books a year, I mean, you kind of like your chances if you read 3 times as much. All right. So if the average person works out 3 times a week, you probably like your chances of increasing your progress faster than them if you work out 5 times a week. Alright? So it's just a law of probability, how you apply that to your own life. But you want to outwork others, but more importantly, you want to outdo yourself, the you from yesterday, without completely burning yourself out. Okay? And it worked, and it's and I put outwork, but outdo. So as far as, like, let's say meditation, for example, you had a nice little session going yesterday, but maybe you want to up the level of intensity, you want to feel more bliss in this, well then you go there then, okay? Because things can always get better, okay? I'm not going to be the one to tell you when things can plateau, but if you feel like there's some meat on the bone, then that's something that you should pursue. Something that you should try to expand on, try to get better at, and so on and so forth. So, alright, that's what we have for today. Stay motivated, like and subscribe. Thank you.